Hello, I'm really glad you're here tonight. This hour is different from the rest of the day. It doesn't ask you to decide anything. It doesn't ask you to perform or explain or keep up. It simply invites you to lie still and let your thoughts move at their own pace. As the years pass, nighttime becomes a kind of companion, a place where the mind is free to wander without interruption, where memories return, not urgently, but patiently, where understanding settles in quietly without needing words. Later in life, the mind doesn't race the way it once did. It reflects, it revisits, it connects dots that once seemed unrelated, and it does this most honestly when the lights are off and the world has gone silent. This space is for those thoughts, the ones that don't surface during the day, the ones that arrive only when you're alone with yourself, resting, remembering, and gently making sense of a long, lived-in life. Tonight, we're going to make a list together. Not a list of tasks, not a list of things you need to do or fix or remember for tomorrow. A different kind of list entirely. A midnight gratitude list. The kind that only becomes possible after you've lived long enough to understand what actually mattered. The kind that couldn't have been written at 30 or 40 or even 50 because you didn't yet have the distance to see it clearly. This is the list that lives in your chest. The one made not of grand achievements or dramatic moments, but of quiet things, ordinary things, things that happened on regular days that you almost didn't notice at the time, but that somehow became the architecture of your life. So take a slow breath, let your body soften into the bed, and allow this night to meet you where you are. Before we begin, if this kind of honest, gentle reflection speaks to you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And down in the comments, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is where you are right now. There's something comforting about knowing we're all here together, scattered across time zones, but united in these late hours when the world finally grows still. So settle in, adjust your pillows, find a comfortable position, and know that for the next hour, you're not alone in whatever wisdom you're carrying, whatever understanding you've earned, whatever truths rise to the surface when the lights go out. Let's begin. You're lying in bed right now, and the house is quiet around you. The particular quiet of late night, the kind that has texture to it, depth to it, the kind that feels different from daytime silence, more complete, more honest, more yours. And in this quiet, something begins to happen. It always does at this hour. The mind loosens its grip on the present and begins to drift. Backward mostly, through decades, through rooms and faces and seasons and conversations that you haven't thought about in years. And tonight, instead of letting those memories drift past like clouds, you're going to pause them, hold them gently, look at them in the soft light of gratitude. Because here is something you understand now that you couldn't have understood when you were younger. Gratitude is not a feeling that arrives automatically. It's a practice, a discipline, a choice you make, especially on the hard nights, especially when the body aches and the losses pile up and the world feels smaller than it used to. On those nights especially, gratitude is a decision, a deliberate turning of the attention toward what remains rather than what is gone. And tonight you're making that turn. You're starting the list. The first thing on your midnight gratitude list is something so simple it almost embarrasses you to name it. And yet, when you lie here in the quiet and really feel it, it fills you with something close to wonder. You are grateful for mornings. Not mornings in general, specific mornings. The mornings that came after the worst nights. The mornings that arrived when you weren't sure they would. When you were sick, when you were grieving, when you were so exhausted you couldn't imagine how you'd face another day, and then the light came anyway. The light came through the window without asking your permission. It didn't wait for you to be ready. It didn't require you to deserve it. It simply arrived, the way it always does, the way it always will, indifferent to your suffering, and yet somehow, in that very indifference, offering something. A reminder that the world continues, that time moves forward, that every night, however dark, is followed by morning. You've had mornings that broke your heart, mornings when you woke up and remembered, in those first terrible seconds of consciousness, that someone was gone, that a marriage had ended, that a diagnosis had been confirmed, that something you loved had been lost forever. Those mornings were brutal. They were among the hardest things you've ever had to survive. But you survived them, every single one. You got up, or you didn't, and the next day you did, or the day after that. but you kept meeting the mornings, even the terrible ones, and that continuity, that stubborn insistence on waking up and trying again, that is something worth being grateful for tonight. You remember a morning that changed everything. Maybe it was the morning after a long surgery when you opened your eyes and realized you'd made it through. Maybe it was a morning when you woke beside someone you loved and felt, with absolute clarity, that you were exactly where you were meant to be. Maybe it was a winter morning when the snow had fallen overnight and you stood at the window with a cup of something warm in your hands and the whole world looked clean and new and possible. You remember that morning. It lives somewhere in your chest. It always will. Be grateful for it tonight. Add it to the list. The second thing on your midnight gratitude list is the people who told you the truth. Not the people who told you what you wanted to hear, not the ones who smiled and nodded and agreed with everything you said. Those people were comfortable, but they didn't change you. The ones who changed you were the ones who loved you enough to be honest. The ones who said, gently but clearly, "That's not right," or "You can do better than this," or "I'm worried about you," or "I think you're making a mistake." You didn't always want to hear it at the time. In fact, sometimes you were furious. Sometimes you walked away from the conversation feeling defensive, misunderstood, criticized. Sometimes you told yourself they were wrong. Sometimes you needed months or years to realize they were right. But they were right. They saw something in you that you couldn't see yourself. They cared enough to risk your anger, risk your withdrawal, risk the discomfort of honesty because they believed you deserved the truth more than you deserved temporary comfort. Think of one person tonight who told you a hard truth that turned out to be the most important thing you'd ever heard. Maybe it was a parent saying something you resisted for decades before finally understanding. Maybe it was a friend who told you that the way you were living wasn't sustainable. Maybe it was a doctor who gave you information you didn't want but needed. Maybe it was someone you almost dismissed, almost brushed aside, almost never listened to, and yet you listened. Eventually, and it shifted something. That person is on your list tonight. That uncomfortable conversation is on your list tonight, because the people who love you enough to be honest are among the rarest and most precious gifts a life can contain. The third thing on your midnight gratitude list is laughter. Specifically, the laughter that surprised you. The laughter that arrived in inappropriate moments, at funerals, in hospitals, during arguments, during the middle of something serious, and completely broke the tension and reminded you that life is also persistently absurd. You remember laughing until you cried, really laughing. The kind of laughter where your whole body participates, where your stomach hurts, where you can't speak, where every time you start to recover, one look at the other person sends you both back under again. The kind of laughter that has no agenda, no performance, no self-consciousness, just pure, helpless, full-body joy. That laughter was a gift. Every single instance of it. Every person who ever made you laugh that hard is someone worth thanking tonight, even if they're gone now, even if you've lost touch, even if you can barely remember their face, but still remember the feeling of laughing beside them until neither of you could breathe. You think of a specific moment, a specific person. Maybe it was late at night in someone's kitchen years ago, and something ridiculous happened, and you both laughed until you were on the floor. Maybe it was a road trip where someone said something at exactly the wrong moment, and you nearly swerved off the road. Maybe it was a child, your child, or someone else's, who said something with complete sincerity that was so unexpectedly funny that it took you a full minute to compose yourself. That moment is on your list. That person is on your list. Laughter is one of the body's greatest medicines and one of the soul's deepest comforts, and you've had enough of it in your life to be genuinely, deeply grateful. The fourth thing on your midnight gratitude list is the work you did with your hands. Not necessarily a career, not a job title, but the actual physical work. The cooking and the cleaning and the gardening and the building and the fixing and the making. The meals you prepared. The things you grew, the objects you repaired when they broke rather than throwing them away, the physical effort you gave to maintaining a life and a home and a family. There's a dignity in physical work that isn't always honored, a satisfaction in doing something with your hands that uses your whole body, that produces something tangible, something you can see and touch and eat and inhabit. You made things, you fixed things, you grew things, You maintained things. You remember the garden, if you had one, the particular satisfaction of planting something in the ground and watching it grow, the patience that required, the faith it required, really, because gardening is an act of faith. You put something in the earth believing it will grow. You tend it, you water it, you wait, and then something emerges from the ground that wasn't there before, and you made that happen, and that feels like a small miracle every single time. Or you remember the kitchen, the hours you spent feeding people, the way that cooking for someone you love is one of the most direct expressions of care that exists. You took raw ingredients and transformed them through knowledge and effort and attention into something that nourished people, that kept them going, that made them feel, at least for the length of a meal, taken care of. All of that work is on your gratitude list tonight. All of those hours spent doing practical, unglamorous, necessary things. They weren't wasted. They were, in fact, among the most meaningful things you ever did. The fifth thing on your midnight gratitude list is the teachers. Not only the ones in classrooms, though some of those belong here too, but the teachers who appeared in the forms of neighbors, strangers, colleagues, elders, children, and even adversaries, the ones who taught you things that no school ever offered. You remember the neighbor who showed you how to be patient when you were young and impatient with everything, not by lecturing you, but by modeling it, by doing things slowly and carefully and without urgency. And somehow that quietness got inside you and taught you something that rushed, efficient people never could have. You remember the elder who shared a piece of wisdom so simple it sounded like nothing at the time. Something about letting go, something about forgiveness, something about how the things you're most afraid of rarely arrive in the form you imagined. They said it casually, in passing, as if they weren't handing you something you'd carry for the rest of your life, and yet you carried it. You still carry it. It's in you right now, lying in this bed, breathing this air. Those teachers are on your list tonight, every single one of them, the ones whose names you remember and the ones whose faces you've forgotten but whose lessons remain, the ones who didn't know they were teaching you, the ones who changed you simply by being who they were in your presence. This is the thing about a long life. The longer you live, the more teachers you recognize looking back. People who seemed ordinary at the time but who, in retrospect, handed you something essential, a perspective, a skill, a moment of grace, a way of seeing the world that you've carried forward without even realizing it. Be grateful for them tonight, all of them. The sixth thing on your midnight gratitude list is the seasons, specifically the way they changed you every year without your permission or participation, the way autumn arrived regardless of whether you were ready, the way winter stripped everything bare so that spring could mean something again, the way summer's abundance always gave way to harvest and harvest to letting go. You've lived through many cycles now, many enough that you understand the pattern in a way younger people can't. You know that every hard season ends. You know that coldness and bareness and loss are not permanent states, even when they feel like they might be. You know this not because someone told you, but because you've lived it enough times to trust it in your body rather than just your mind. You remember specific seasons that shaped you. A particular autumn when everything in your life was changing at once. A winter that was lonely in a way you'd never been lonely before. A spring that arrived after a long grief and truly felt like permission to continue. A summer so abundant and warm and full of good things that you tried to hold on to every day of it, knowing it would end, trying to memorize the light. The seasons are on your list tonight. The way they kept going. The way they kept offering new beginnings without your having to earn them. The way nature modeled, year after year, that nothing is final. That even the deepest cold is followed eventually by warmth. That even the most barren landscape holds, beneath its surface, everything needed for renewal. The seventh thing on your midnight gratitude list is the body that carried you. Not the body you wished you had. Not the body as it appears in photographs you like or don't like. The actual body. The one that woke you up every morning, the one that digested your food and circulated your blood and repaired itself quietly while you slept, the one that felt pleasure and survived pain and healed from injuries that seemed unsurvivable at the time. You've been hard on this body sometimes. You've pushed it too far. You've fed it things that didn't serve it. You've ignored its signals. You've been impatient with it when it slowed down. You've been critical of its appearance when it was simply doing its job, which was to keep you alive and moving and present in the world. And yet it kept going, it kept showing up, it kept doing the impossible work of sustaining your life year after year, decade after decade, without asking for your gratitude or your acknowledgement. It just kept going. Your hands tonight are on your gratitude list. Your lungs, drawing air without your conscious participation, are on the list. Your heart, beating reliably in your chest right now as you lie here in the dark, is on the list. Your eyes that have seen so much, your ears that have heard music and laughter and voices you've loved, your feet that have carried you across every threshold of your life. This body is a gift, imperfect, aging, slowing, changing, but still here, still breathing, still present, still yours. Be grateful for it tonight. The 8th thing on your midnight gratitude list is the friendships that lasted, the ones that bent without breaking, the ones that survived years of distance, disagreements, different life paths, long silences, and still somehow remained. The ones where you can pick up the phone after months of not speaking and immediately be back inside the same comfortable space you've always occupied with this person. Long friendships are among the rarest things in a human life. Most connections fade, most people drift. The circumstances that brought you together change, and without those circumstances, there's nothing left to hold you in each other's orbits. But some friendships have a different kind of gravity. They hold not because of convenience or proximity, but because of something harder to name. Recognition, maybe. The sense that this person knows something about you that others don't. That they've seen you across enough versions of yourself that they hold your whole story rather than just a chapter. You think of a friendship like that tonight, a person who has known you long enough to remember who you were before life changed you, before you became the version of yourself that most people know, a person who holds your history, who can say, "Remember when," and you both know exactly what they mean. That friendship is on your list tonight. Its longevity is on the list. The fact that it survived, that you both chose to continue choosing each other across so many years and changes and distances and difficulties, that is something extraordinary, something worth naming in the dark, something worth thanking the universe for providing. You are lying here now, and the list continues to grow. 8 things already, 8 sources of genuine gratitude, found not in the dramatic peaks of life, but in the steady, ordinary, unremarkable fabric of days lived fully and honestly. And there is more. There is so much more. Because a life like yours, long and layered and full of everything that living requires, is woven through with gifts that took decades to recognize. Gifts that looked like burdens when they first arrived. Gifts that arrived in disguise as difficulties, as losses, as endings that turned out to be beginnings. You breathe slowly now. The covers are warm around you. The house is still. The night is deep, and the list goes on. The list goes on, and you let it. You don't rush it. You don't force it. You simply lie here in the dark, in the warmth of this bed, in the quiet of this particular hour, and you allow the gratitude to rise the way water rises. Slowly, naturally, without effort, because that's what you've learned about gratitude at this stage of life. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't arrive in flashes or fanfare. It seeps in, it settles, it finds you in the stillness when you've stopped chasing everything else and finally allowed yourself to simply be here. And here is where the list continues. The 9th thing on your midnight gratitude list is the mistakes you made and survived. Not the small ones, the real ones, the ones that cost you something, the decisions you look back on and still feel the weight of, the times you chose wrong, the times you hurt someone without meaning to, or worse, the times you hurt someone and you knew exactly what you were doing and you did it anyway, the times you took the wrong path and walked down it for years before you realized you needed to turn around. Those mistakes are on your gratitude list tonight, not because they didn't matter, they did. Not because they didn't cause damage, they caused real damage to yourself and sometimes to people you loved, but because of what happened after, because of the person who emerged on the other side of that damage, because of the wisdom that can only be built from genuine failure, because of the humility that comes from having been wrong in a way you couldn't deny or rationalize away. You became capable of real compassion only after you became capable of real failure. You became capable of forgiving others only after you had needed forgiveness yourself. You became capable of understanding human weakness only after you'd inhabited your own with complete honesty. The mistakes made you, not in spite of the pain they caused, but through it. They broke you open in places that needed to be broken open. They showed you where you were rigid, where you were afraid, where you were operating from old patterns that no longer served you or the people around you. Think of a mistake tonight that you've never fully forgiven yourself for. Hold it gently, not to punish yourself again. You've done enough of that, but to acknowledge it as part of your story, as one of the chapters that made the rest of the book possible. That mistake is on your list. The growth it eventually produced is on your list. The person you became because of it, the wiser, softer, more honest version of yourself, that person is on your list. The 10th thing on your midnight gratitude list is music. Specifically, the songs that found you at exactly the right moment, the ones that named something you were feeling but couldn't articulate, the ones that came through a radio or a window or someone else's open door at a moment when you needed them without knowing you needed them. The ones that still, decades later, can return you instantly to a specific room, a specific season, a specific version of yourself. Music did something for you that nothing else could. It held emotions that were too large for words. It gave you permission to feel things you were afraid to feel in silence. It accompanied your grief in a way that made grief bearable. It celebrated your joy in a way that made joy feel shared rather than solitary. You remember a song that broke you open when you were young and heartbroken. You remember a song that played at a wedding or a funeral or a graduation and made the moment feel larger than it could have felt without it. You remember a song you sang to your children at bedtime, your voice imperfect but your intention pure, and how they'd lie there listening with their eyes getting heavy, and how that song became part of their earliest sense of safety and love. You remember dancing. If you danced, you remember the particular freedom of it. The way music could move through your body and take your mind somewhere else entirely. The way a good song on a good night with the right people could make you feel, briefly but completely, like everything was exactly right with the world. Music is on your list tonight. Every song that ever held you. Every note that ever told you the truth about what you were feeling. Every melody that ever made you feel less alone in the particular darkness you were sitting in. The 11th thing on your midnight gratitude list is the conversations that lasted until dawn. You know the ones. The conversations that started as something ordinary and then somewhere in the middle of the night became something else entirely. The ones where the usual social filters dropped away, where people said what they actually thought, where real questions got asked and real answers got offered, and something genuine passed between two human beings that rarely gets passed in the daylight hours when everyone is too busy and too guarded and too aware of being observed. Those conversations changed you. The ones at a kitchen table with someone you loved, long after everyone else had gone to bed, where you talked about things you'd never talked about before, about fear, about regret, about what you believed in and what you'd stopped believing in and what you still weren't sure about the life you'd imagined and the life you'd actually gotten and how to make peace with the distance between them. Those conversations are among the most precious things you've ever been given. They required someone willing to stay up past their comfort, past their tiredness, past the polite surface of ordinary exchange. They required mutual vulnerability, mutual willingness to be honest, mutual trust that what was said in that kitchen at 3 in the morning would stay there. Think of one conversation like that tonight. One night that surprised you with its depth. One person who chose to go deep with you when they could have stayed shallow. One exchange of real words that you've carried forward into every year that followed. That conversation is on your list. That person is on your list. The courage it took to be that honest with another human being and the grace it took to receive that honesty in return, that is on your list. The 12th thing on your midnight gratitude list is the times you were taken care of. Because there were times, even if you've spent most of your life being the caretaker, even if your identity has been built largely around being the strong one, the reliable one, the one others come to when they need help. Even you had moments when the strength ran out and someone else stepped forward. You remember being sick and someone bringing you something warm to drink and sitting with you while you were miserable. You remember being lost and someone taking the time to help you find your way. You remember being devastated by something and someone showing up without being asked, simply because they knew and they came. Those moments of being cared for are easy to dismiss if you're someone who values independence, easy to minimize, easy to file under weakness or need rather than under grace and connection. But tonight, in this quiet and honest hour, you're not minimizing them, you're honoring them, because being cared for requires someone to see your need, someone to choose your comfort over their convenience, someone to offer their time and their presence and their attention to your struggle without asking for anything in return. That is an act of love, one of its purest forms, and it was offered to you multiple times by people who saw you clearly and chose to show up. Those people are on your list tonight. Those moments of being held when you needed holding are on the list. Your willingness to receive care, even imperfectly, even reluctantly, even when every part of you wanted to insist you were fine, that willingness is on the list too. The 13th thing on your midnight gratitude list is the silences that were comfortable. Not all silences are. Some silences are full of tension, full of unsaid things, full of the particular discomfort of being with someone and running out of things to say. Those silences you know too. They're part of any honest life. But the silences you're grateful for tonight are the other kind. The ones with people you trusted so completely that no words were necessary. The ones where you could sit beside someone, a friend, a partner, a child grown old enough to simply be present without needing to fill the air and just exist together without conversation and feel entirely at peace. Those comfortable silences are a mark of deep relationship. They can't be faked. They can't be rushed into existence. They require years of accumulated trust and ease and familiarity. They require knowing someone well enough that your presence together needs no explanation, no performance, no maintenance of any kind. You've had those silences. You've sat in them. You've been held by them. Maybe on a porch watching the evening come in. Maybe in a car on a long drive where the landscape spoke for both of you. Maybe in a hospital room where there was nothing to say and yet being there mattered more than anything that could have been said. Those silences are on your list. The relationships deep enough to contain them are on your list. The peace you found in them, the particular rest of being with someone without needing to be anything other than who you simply, quietly are, that peace is on your list. The 14th thing on your midnight gratitude list is the stories you were told. The ones told around tables at family gatherings. The ones whispered by grandparents or elders about lives lived before you were born. The ones that connected you to people and places you never knew, but somehow carried in your blood. The ones that told you who you came from, and therefore something essential about who you were. Stories were how wisdom traveled before books. They were how communities held their history. They were how families made meaning out of difficulty and loss and change. And someone, at some point in your life, sat down with you and told you stories about where you came from, about what your people survived, about the choices that were made before you existed that made your existence possible. You carry those stories. They're inside you right now. They shaped your understanding of what strength looks like, what love requires, what survival demands, what it means to be part of something larger than a single life. You carry voices in you that belong to people who died before you were born, passed forward through story, living in you the way music lives in an instrument long after the song is finished. Those stories are on your gratitude list tonight. The people who told them are on the list. The tradition of telling, of sitting with the young and saying, let me tell you something true, let me give you something to carry forward, that tradition is on the list. The 15th thing on your midnight gratitude list is the ordinary Tuesdays. Not the birthdays, not the anniversaries, not the holidays or the milestones or the landmark events that everyone agrees are significant. The Tuesdays, the unremarkable Wednesdays, the forgettable Thursday mornings, the days that left no trace in memory because nothing notable happened, and that is exactly why they were precious. Most of your life was lived on those days. The ordinary ones. The ones that accumulated quietly into weeks and months and years without demanding anything from you except your continued presence and participation. The days when you got up and made breakfast and went about your business and came home and ate dinner and went to bed and the whole cycle repeated without drama or crisis or peak experience of any kind. Those days were your life, the sum of them. the quiet accumulation of ordinary hours lived in ordinary ways with ordinary people doing ordinary things. And there was goodness in them, deep, uncelebrated, thoroughly ordinary goodness. The goodness of routine and continuity, of knowing what the day would hold, of small pleasures repeated so often they became part of who you were. You think of a specific ordinary day, a Tuesday maybe, years ago. Nothing special happened. You were just alive in the middle of your life, doing the things your life required, surrounded by people and places that were so familiar you barely noticed them. That day passed and you didn't mark it. You didn't photograph it or record it or even pay it much attention. It was just a day. But tonight, lying here, you feel grateful for it, for all the days like it, for the long, unheroic, beautifully ordinary stretch of your life that made up most of your actual experience on this earth, for the gift of having enough stability and safety and continuity that most of your days could be unremarkable. Those ordinary Tuesdays are on your list, all of them. The entire quiet middle of your life is on the list. The 16th thing on your midnight gratitude list is what the hard times taught you that nothing else could have. You've had hard times. You don't need to name them now. They're known to you. They live in you as scar tissue, as altered perspective, as the particular kind of knowing that only comes from having gone through something and emerged, changed, on the other side. The hard times taught you who you actually were when everything else was stripped away. When the roles you played and the identity you'd constructed and the life you'd built were interrupted or threatened or temporarily lost, what remained was you, the essential you, the part that couldn't be taken, and that was a revelation, painful, unwanted, but a revelation nonetheless. You discovered reserves you didn't know you had, strength that only became visible under pressure, resilience that had been there all along, waiting quietly under the surface of your ordinary days, ready to be called on when nothing ordinary would suffice. You discovered that you were harder to break than you'd thought, that you could lose things you were certain you couldn't survive losing, and still, somehow, continue. The hard times also taught you what mattered and what didn't. Difficulty has a way of clarifying priorities with brutal efficiency. What seemed urgent in comfortable times revealed itself as trivial under pressure. What seemed unimportant in comfortable times revealed itself as essential when everything else fell away. The hard times gave you a clarity about what your life was actually for that no amount of ease could have provided. Those hard times are on your gratitude list tonight, not because they weren't terrible, some of them were, but because of what they built in you. Because of the person they shaped, because of the wisdom they deposited in you that you've spent the years since then drawing on, quietly, in ways you often don't even notice, because it's simply become who you are. The 17th thing on your midnight gratitude list is this. Right now, this moment, this bed, this darkness, this quiet house, this body breathing slowly in and out, this mind, still active after all these years, still capable of reflection and memory and gratitude. This life, still being lived, still unfinished, still containing moments worth noticing and naming and being grateful for in the dark. You're here, tonight, in this particular moment, in this particular year of your life. You are here, still present, still participating, still awake enough, in every sense of the word, to be making this list. That is not nothing. That is everything. Because not everyone gets here. Not everyone gets the long view. Not everyone gets to lie in bed at this hour in this season of life and look back across decades and feel the weight of a life genuinely lived. Some people are taken early. Some people never get the chance to accumulate this much living, this much learning, this many ordinary Tuesdays and extraordinary conversations and seasons and songs and friendships and mistakes and reconciliations and moments of grace. You got here. Whatever brought you here, whatever combination of choices and circumstances and luck and stubbornness and love and pure chance brought you to this particular night, you got here. And that is on your list, at the very top, at the very heart of it, underneath everything else you've named tonight. Your life itself is on your gratitude list. The whole of it, the beautiful parts and the broken parts, the proud moments and the shameful ones, the relationships that flourished and the ones that failed, The seasons of abundance and the seasons of scarcity, the mornings that broke your heart and the ones that restored it, the mistakes and the wisdom they produced, the losses and the love that preceded them, the ordinary days and the extraordinary ones, the teachers and the students and everyone in between. All of it, the entire long, imperfect, irreplaceable story of your life is on your list tonight. And now the list is complete. Not because there's nothing left to be grateful for. There will always be more. Gratitude, once practiced, has no bottom. It keeps going as long as you keep looking. But the list is complete for tonight. For this hour, for this particular visit to the quiet interior of your lived experience. You've done the work of remembering. You've done the work of noticing. You've turned your attention, deliberately and with full intention, toward what was given to you across the long years of your life. And you've named it, and you've honored it. And that matters more than you might think. Because this is what gratitude actually does at this stage of life. It doesn't erase the losses. It doesn't pretend the hard things weren't hard. It doesn't demand that you feel happy or peaceful or content all the time. It simply holds the good things alongside the difficult ones and refuses to let the difficult ones have the whole story. You've refused to let the difficult things have the whole story. Tonight, in this bed, in this dark, in this quiet house, you've claimed your whole story. The full version, the one that includes everything. The one that is far richer and far more layered and far more worth carrying than any single chapter of it would suggest. Your eyes are heavy now, the way they get when the mind has finished what it needed to do and the body is ready to rest. The tension in your shoulders has eased. Your breathing has slowed without your having to ask it to. The darkness feels less like something to resist and more like something to settle into, like deep water, like the end of a long walk, like arriving somewhere you've been heading all day. The list rests inside your chest now. All 17 things, all the people and the seasons and the songs and the silences and the ordinary days and the hard lessons and the laughter and the body and the mornings. They're all there, held gently, named with care, honored in the quiet way that the dark hours make possible. You don't need to do anything else tonight. You've already done it. You've made the list. You've looked at your life honestly and found it full of things worth thanking. That is enough, more than enough. That is, in fact, everything. Let your hands relax now. Let your jaw unclench. Let the weight of the blanket settle over you like the end of a long conversation, like the quiet that comes after music stops and the room still holds the echo of it, like the particular piece of someone who has said what needed to be said and can now simply rest. You are grateful, deeply, genuinely, fully grateful for this life, with all its complications and contradictions and imperfections, with all its losses and all its love, with all its ordinary Tuesdays and its extraordinary moments of grace, with all the people who shaped you and all the seasons that changed you and all the mornings that came after the hardest nights and found you still here, still breathing, still capable of beginning again. You are grateful for this night, for this quiet, for this bed that holds you, for this mind that still knows how to look back with honesty and find beauty in what it sees. You are grateful for you, for the long, difficult, beautiful work of becoming who you are, for the endurance it required, for the love it was built on, for the wisdom that accumulated slowly, year by year, quietly and without fanfare, into the person lying here tonight, making a gratitude list in the dark, at the end of a long and genuinely remarkable life. Rest now. The list will be here when you wake. The gratitude doesn't go anywhere. It stays. It accumulates the way all good things accumulate in a life lived with attention and honesty and love. It waits for you in the morning, in the light, in the next ordinary Tuesday that turns out to be a gift you didn't know you were receiving. But that is tomorrow. Tonight is for rest. You've carried enough. You've remembered enough. You've been grateful enough for one midnight. Close your eyes now. Let the quiet do its work. Let the darkness be gentle. Let the night hold you the way it's held you through every difficult season of your life, faithfully, without judgment, offering the same gift it has always offered: rest, renewal, the promise of morning. The fires die down, the stories settle, and the world grows still. Let your thoughts drift away like embers on the wind. Good night. You've journeyed far through time tonight. Now it's time to journey into dreams. Close your eyes, breathe, and let sleep find you.